I'm a huge fan of Seiko. It's the brand that actually got me into this so expensive but so exciting hobby. The SNK809 was my first mechanical watch, and I got that for $60 back in 2018. In typical Seiko fashion, Seiko discontinued the SNK line a couple of years ago. You can still find those watches nowadays, but they sell for over $100, which kind of beats the whole value proposition they were known for in the first place. Wherever there's a gap in the market, you can bet your case back that a Chinese watch brand would happily step in, and that's exactly what Berny did with this SNK homage. They didn't just make an exact copy though. In fact, they made some tweaks, bumped up the specs, and changed the case material to titanium. Did Berny just make a better SNK than Seiko for half the price? Let's find out. You can get this watch for around $60 during sale season on AliExpress. You can choose between 4 colors, logo or no logo, and a bracelet or a canvas strap. The case is made entirely from titanium. I'm not sure if the finish is bead blasted or if it's just the way raw titanium looks. Whichever it is, it gives off a very industrial look. I think that works well with a purpose-built field watch like this. Here's how the color and sheen compares to the titanium on my Octopus Kraken and the stainless steel on my Zin. The case profile is very similar to the SNK it's homaging, but not entirely. The Berny has a slimmer bezel and lugs, and they've even managed to trim down the side profile because of the quartz movement that they're using. The compact dimensions, lightweight, and thin profile makes this extremely comfortable to wear. It's so light that I kept forgetting I had a watch on my wrist. I really like the way this case looks. I think they've made the case look more refined with those tweaks. Which case shape do you prefer? The Berny or the Seiko? Let me know in the comments. The tiny push-pull crown is recessed at 4 o'clock. Since this Berny is a quartz, I didn't really mind it as much. You'll just need to set the time once instead of fiddling with it every day. The 50 watts resistance rating on this case is not amazing, but it's still an improvement over the 30 rating on the Seiko. The crystal is made from a flat piece of sapphire. This is much more scratch resistant than the Hardlex crystal on the Seiko, but that doesn't exactly paint the whole picture. Berny states there's an AR coating on the crystal, but I highly doubt that claim. It's not great at minimizing reflections, and it always has this hazy look under diffuse lighting. You won't notice this much outdoors, but if you spend a lot of time indoors, you're going to see it. The dial has that Type B Flieger look with the minute outer track and the hour inner track. It looks very close to the original, but it doesn't have that day-date complication. Everything on the dial is printed, and the print quality is quite good for the price point. Strangely, Berny decided to use a greyish color instead of white for the print. You can see the color difference between the printed elements and the stock white hands. Now, I like a ghosted color scheme, but the grey has very little contrast against the black dial. By comparison, the hands themselves look excellent. They have great proportions, and the stock white color gives it excellent contrast. Also, that touch of red on the second hand really makes it pop. I found that the combination of low contrast print and the hazy crystal made it very difficult to read the time at a glance. On the other hand, this watch actually looks more legible in the dark. I wasn't expecting Berny to lume almost all the dial elements, but they did, so props to them for that. By comparison, the SNK only has lumed hands and dots on the indices. The blue BG99 lume has a strong initial glow, but the printed dial elements fade off faster than the thicker lume applications on the hands. I could see the hands when I woke up in the middle of the night, but the numerals were almost entirely gone. Unlike the classic 7S26 movement that powered the Seiko, the movement powering this watch is the Seiko VH31 Macro Quartz. This is the second watch I've had with this movement after the Addis dive I reviewed, and I'm slowly becoming a huge fan. The sweeping second hand ticks at 4 times per second, so it gives you that mechanical feel without the hassle of needing to wind it up or set the time. It makes for a great grab and go watch in the collection. With those thinner lugs, Berny managed to increase the lug width to 20mm instead of 18mm on the original. This lug width looks a bit more balanced to me, and you're opening up yourself to a ton of 20mm strap options. Like the case, the bracelet and clasp are also made from titanium. The links don't articulate that well, and the bracelet just feels jangly. The links are held by push pins, and the middle links look quite raw and a bit unfinished. I really don't like the stem clasp, and that's all I'm gonna say about it. I mean, just look at it. As you can probably tell, the bracelet and clasp are the worst parts of this watch. They look and feel cheap, but then again, this watch is cheap, so it's important to have that perspective. I'd actually suggest saving even a few more bucks by getting this watch on the canvas strap instead of the bracelet. Field watches look better on NATO straps anyway, so if you have a couple of those lying around, you're pretty much set. So to answer the question, did Berny make a better SNK than Seiko? Not quite, but I have to give credit where credit is due. Berny did a lot of things well with this watch. They improved the case, upgraded the lume, and made it more lightweight by going with titanium. But a field watch needs to be legible, and for that reason alone, I can't conclusively say that it's better than the Seiko. That being said, I think this Berny will appeal to quite a few people. It's a great option for anyone who wants a grab-and-go beta watch, or for enthusiasts who want to experience the iconic SNK line, but don't want to pay over $100 for a watch that cost half that price a couple of years ago. If Berny fixes the crystal and dial print color, I think they'll be on to a runaway winner. But if you've been eyeing a Seiko SNK, I'd suggest spending the extra money and going for that anyway. It's an iconic watch you'll be happy with for years to come, or at least until you get your first scratch on that Hardlex crystal.